I think the team, and it's not just like Bram or Gene, it's the rest of them. The rest of them are super experienced and very talented,
They seem
and
to have a very big payroll.
they do,
Then
and well, and they treat they kind of treat their employees like really nice, you know, like
right. No,
it's
I understand all that. I do, and I see it. But ultimately, it's a developing company. It's almost in the same parallel. I would say it's like SpaceX before they made any launches because they're not making any money.
yes,
They're trying to get funding. They're
yes,
trying to
yes,
do something
yes. But
until it actually happens. Then
exactly. But what's more risky, Shiba Inu or SpaceX even back then? I mean,
but I even I witnessed with Shiba.
there
Oh
we go.
my goodness, the amount of money that they're sitting on. I mean, can you imagine how many developers are actually doing that one thing? Maybe two at most.
Yeah,
A team
yeah.
of
But
two.
I mean,
That it's
that's
just
crypto
crazy.
101. I mean, I remember hearing, like 2017, oh, EOS is gonna pump, like it's gonna go from like 14 to like 19, and
Yeah,
like I told you, all right, it's happening in 2 days, and like sure enough, it actually did.
right.
And so there's a lot of that still in crypto space. Like the shenanigans
Oh
are
yeah, of course.
for the record books, man. Like for the record books, like
Yeah.
I mean, this makes some of the stuff on Wall Street in the 1920s like just look like child's play. I mean, it's just
Right. Oh
like
yeah.
the
The amount of
amount
money and
of
the amount of people. Yeah.
things, yeah, that are people, money, just absolute, just like shenanigans and like the pump and dumps and the manipulation and things that are not done properly and things that like should never like be what they become for a little bit and then they kind of
Right.
die down. It's just it's nuts.
Are
And that's
you
why
are
a lot of
you
people like crypto though, but
right? Are you
it's
invested with anything else besides? I know you're farming and plotting Chia, but are you invested as far as just purchasing other altcoins or even Bitcoin
not
itself?
anymore. Like I did, but I mean, I was pretty big on some of them
Okay.
last year, like when all DeFi started.
Hmm.
But and if I was trading, I can't really, like, I don't really have enough time for that anymore. But if I was, yeah, I mean, there's still some pretty good trades to be had, even right
Right.
now. Even if I don't think the tech is going to last 2 years, there's still like quite a lot, going on. So there's certain things, but at the end of the day, once you get deep enough into Chia, and whenever they call out, like the issues of proof of stake,
Hmm.
and whenever Bram's like proof of stake is a step backwards because proof of work was invented as a fix for proof of stake. And you hear that at first and you're like, what is he talking about?
Right.
And then you research it and then you're like, oh man, like he's actually like, yeah. Yeah. So,
Right.
and I research it, and it's like, sure enough, they're not BSing anybody. And so like for in the space longer, I consider it a very long term hold. Bitcoin as well, and the
Hmm.
S&P index, and the rest of them are kind of like, I think Ethereum is still a good trade up
Hmm.
until the 2.0 finally comes out. I agree with Raul Paul about that. They just like trade in the hype or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it'll be pretty good.
Right. Right.
Um, and Cardano's very kind of choppy along with Solana. Like the charts aren't really solidified yet for me to like actually kind of feel comfortable with trading those specifically. Now I think going into this fall, I think because the crackdown in China, I think Uniswap's going to do pretty well, and I think BNB is gonna pop up again to like 600 at minimum.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, well, because a lot of those Chinese mainland volumes are going to go to places like that, because they're getting kicked out by the end of the year.
Mm.
From and those charts actually appear to kind of justify that on
Right.
the weekly
Right.
basis. So I can see that happening. And even Ripple looks like it might do pretty well too.
And
For the end of the
really,
yeah for the end of the year, and all I can figure out is because there's the narrative that it's going to be the government's tokens, and
right.
like
Right.
it's longer term, like I don't think so at all, but that narrative is still out there and a lot of people
Yeah.
buy into it, so sure.
I mean, you just named like a good half a dozen or so, or more actually, of these
Yeah,
coins.
i'm
It's
not e- I'm not even doing it though. It's like I see it,
right.
those are probably
Right.
really good
You're right.
trades,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
because I don't really
And
I
just the
mean,
fact that you mentioned all those, that's why I asked like the competitive, the space in there.
can go down the top like 20, 50 tokens right now.
Right.
And I'll just tell you why. Like, I mean, coin market cap going, all right, Bitcoin, yes. And we all know why. Ethereum, challenges with proof of stake, transactions, we know. But the biggest thing for me is that it takes them forever to deliver. Now, I mean, we can, I know you remember this, like when Chia didn't meet the what was it, the pooling deadline,
Yes,
and everybody
yes.
just wanted blood.
You're right.
But they still delivered on a fairly like decent,
which is
time
even
frame.
more surprising. Everyone was asking for it, and then people are sitting on it, not getting what they're expecting. And then he's like, does it make more sense to just solo at this point? Like people are just going back to before the pooling days and trying to get because the payout just doesn't make any sense for some of these people. So I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, no one's ever going to be satisfied. But yeah, I remember.
No, what blows my mind, if we're going to talk about crypto space and give like a real level critique for the entire sector, it's like, what project in crypto space has ever even delivered for the most part? Not many. And the ones that have, it's taken them years to get it together enough to deliver.
I will admit that Chia, the team, the whole Chia team, and what they put out there for the public is it's a lot more than most companies, because there's basically non-existence for other coins.
They're about they're the most transparent team that I've seen in the entire sector.
I agree with that. I mean, Bitcoin is what it is today, but no one's doing anything for it.
Like, well, they can't. It doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
There's the core developers, but they want to. They that's why Ethereum was made, right? Because they want to keep it safe. They want to keep it still Bitcoin. You don't screw with a $1 trillion blockchain.
Right.
You don't you don't do it. You don't try to do these crazy upgrades. You don't try to increase functionality. You leave it where it is. That's it. And so whenever you see the videos of Saylor, and I love Saylor, he is definitely Bitcoin Jesus right now. I
follow him. Yeah, he's a tough. I don't know, man.
He is
a lot of balls to do what he's doing.
He's got this video out there talking about how Bitcoin is going to be the steel of the internet of the future. And I love it. I love it because all you have to do is replace Bitcoin with Chia, and then it actually makes sense. Because Chia is going to have all that sort of functionality. Bitcoin doesn't. Bitcoin's just going to be store of value. And that's it. And that's when you don't listen to me, listen to the developers, listen to even Hodgkinson's talking about Bitcoin code getting cleaned up early on, I mean, all of them, they'll talk about this candidly, and it's out there, but certain maximalists are out there and like not paying attention to it. And it's just like the functionality is not going to be put on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to be Bitcoin, and it's going to a store of value.
Let me ask you this. I know we're talking all about crypto and basically Bitcoin is the new gold, right? What do you think? Okay, I mean, in some cases, right, it's nothing physical that you can hold or anything, but what do you think about real gold? Do you still think it has a place?
Yeah, no, I do. It's just like cash has a place, I don't. I mean, anybody says get rid of cash, I think you're a numbskull, or even coins. Like, coins maybe, with all the anyway, but the cash, like, to an extent, like, no, I think it's similar to I guess the horse and the buggy. Like, we still have horses, in certain and like cops use horses in cities, there's still like a use for them, right? I mean, cars obviously
just not as much.
Exactly. So I think gold's still going to be there. I think Bitcoin will outperform it for obvious reasons. I think Bitcoin, once it goes over 100K, it's just going to be a bear instrument. It's because there was that data a few months ago where there were only 7,000 Bitcoins on exchanges. Yeah, it's not a lot. And so people were getting them out in cold storage. So literally, like, once it passes a certain price point, it's going to be like, I have private keys for X amount. And exchanges won't really be able to take care of it anymore. So it's literally me going to an intermediary broker and doing an over-the-counter deal, saying, I have 5 Bitcoins that I'm okay selling. Who do you have who's willing to buy? What price are they going to give me for this?
Now, I understand all the technology. I wouldn't say all, but I do understand crypto being the future of making payments and having faster transaction. How do you feel about crypto in general in regards to security? Meaning you can easily lose something, and you can never claim it back. There's no one to insure it. There's no one to protect you. It's not a credit card. It's not a bank.
Yeah.
Doesn't that suck? I
It
mean,
does.
how
It
would
does.
you
Yeah.
protect it as an individual, especially if you're not in that space of like, doing security work for technology, or you're just a 9 to 5 guy that has no knowledge of how to even secure it. Like,
I
is it
think,
not your
yeah.
thing then? It's like, should you not even deal with it? Just deal with cash?
For normal people, yeah, I'd say that. Now the people who want to really get into it and, think it's worth getting into and figure out, private custody and cold storage and stuff like that for certain assets that they think are, worth holding and sitting on, I think there's definitely, I mean, people are already doing that, totally going to stay. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like, that's why that's another, well, everything that you just said is actually yet another reason why I think Chia is probably superior to the rest of everything on the market, because they're going to be the back end. That's what they're going for, is to be the back end, to make all that stuff work. That way you don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff.
So going forward, Chia can potentially be dealing with all the transaction,
That's
but
what they're going for. They're going for
someone's
money,
gonna,
man.
right. So, but someone in the front end is gonna secure those
Yeah,
funds.
banks, look, you're not killing banks. Banks are still they're gonna transition. They're
Right,
gonna look different after all this, but they're still gonna be here.
right, right, right.
Same thing with fiat. Fiat's still gonna be here. This whole like cheering like fiat's dying, like it's like yes and no. All
Right.
fiat has died that's ever been issued. That's just a part of history. And the US dollar will join that too at some point, but I think we're at least another 200 years away from that actually being reality.
Right. Yeah. I
um,
mean, yeah, we're definitely start of a new beginning right now, and crypto is definitely just the beginning of it.
Yeah, no, we're
Right.
and we're still 10 years into at least probably a 30-year tech run. That, and there's still a lot to grow. It's like what is it? RCA, right?
Hmm.
1920s, Radio Corporation of America. That was the tech stock.
Right.
If you attached yourself, maybe not even to RCA the corporation, but even the radio industry,
Right.
you were a talking head on the radio, or you were putting up antennas or whatever, you ate pretty well for probably a good 30-year period.
I
You
agree.
had you had a job, you had an industry that was growing, it was going places.
Things definitely come and
Um,
go for sure.
that's so you just ride the tech wave right now. Crypto, I think we're still like pretty early. So I know it's a lot.
It is. It is a lot to talk, like absorb right now, because it's so new for everyone. Like everyone, some people who tune in on wanting to learn
Learning
Chia.
curve. Yeah,
Yes,
learning
yes.
curve. Woo!
It definitely takes time. What is your suggestion for people who want to start Chia now? Is it worth it for them? What should they
um,
do? Not
if they
everyone
if
gets free hardware.
Yeah, if they can do it on a shoestring, I think it's still worth it. I think next year, by the time one click farming comes out, NetSpace is going to jump. I think NetSpace might even jump if they do something to raise more funds. Like I know you had the roundtable with Chris from Chia.
Yes.
He was talking about them running out of money eventually, and he's right.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm
Which means
sure.
they need a bid for a higher token price if they need more, so
Right.
it's I mean that's so that's why they're developing stuff right now, that way they don't just talk before they have anything to back it up. So they want
Mhm.
something to back it up, and then they'll start talking, and they can completely legally do that and it not be a
Of
pump and
course.
dump.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Or they
so
could still pump and dump and
that might be issues down in the future. So yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how I see it now. I think honestly, I think the prices are so suppressed right now. I think
Mhm.
it's probably a good time if people can buy. If they have avenues to buy, I think it's probably a really, really good deal. But if they don't and they have any extra hard drive space, or can get like, cheap storage or whatever, and just want to tinker with it, and earn mojos, like I think that's a pretty good path to go too. Like,
Right.
and the reason why is simply because the higher price is kind of engineered into it already. And
Mm.
that's what a lot of people don't get about the pre-farm. Like, yeah, you don't need to be afraid of them dumping it, but yeah, it's a mechanism to actually kind of suppress some of the craziness that could, if they get to where they're trying to get to, that could
Right.
pop off.
Right.
That's that. Look, I mean, they talk about. Remember, if they use the word pegging it, they talk about trying to stabilize it, and
Yes.
the best way to look at that is literally the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. 7.8 Hong Kong dollars to the U.S. dollar
Mhm.
for like 30 something years.
Right.
And I have very good friends of mine who are like, well, all pegs break. It's like, yes, all pegs do break. But this one doesn't even have to last 30 years. This one only has to last long enough for it to gain, you know, broader adoption. And then like the balancing mechanism, like it's a thing of the past, you know, and that's what
So
going
basically
for.
what I'm hearing from you is that you're going to be sticking around. You're going to keep your farmers up and let it
Yeah.
run. Let it just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
on going.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to.
Okay.
And like, I mean, I haven't sold anything, you know,
Okay.
at all. And I don't really see any reason right now to,
Right.
especially at these prices. That's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
not,
what the current price is right now.
I
I'm
think it's
just
close to
curious.
150.
Is it? Did it drop
Yeah.
even? I know it dropped a little bit.
But
XCH.
that's, you know, that's very Bitcoin-ish of like 13 to 17.
Let's see what it
Um,
is today.
yeah.
153.
Yeah, yeah,
153.
yeah.
Okay.
So I honestly think anything under 200 is probably a pretty good buy. You know, think about it though. Like, where is the demand going to come from? Developed countries, and like how many developed countries have it on an exchange?
Yeah.
Not many. And I honestly, you know, I'm not going to go accusing anybody, but it would not surprise me if that was actually completely intentional.
Okay.
Think about it. It
Yeah.
makes sense for.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be surprised if you would have to hold on for the next 5 to close to 10 years for something to pop off with XCHs.
Oh, well, if the company does their job, it should be sooner than that.
Well, I
And there
mean, if
is,
the company does its job, it has to maintain doing its job,
yeah,
in order
yeah,
for it to
yeah.
reflect on the prices.
Well, it's very simple. Like we can assume, and I don't think yeah, we can assume from some of the early videos that are not tagged to Chia, but were about Chia
Mm-hmm.
by certain angel investment groups that are floating out there somewhere for people to find. We can assume that Asteroids is a pretty huge institution, pretty massive. If Chia does actually secure that contract, you know, with when people are raving about, oh, Cardano processed 1.6 trillion in transactions in the first 9 months of this year, that's child's play. Once the broader crypto market, it's hilarious to me because, and I told this to some of the team members in Miami, because it's a funny thing, because when I was researching Chia like earlier this year, January, slow drips, I heard again and again, oh, we're going after institutional adoption. And I'm laughing about it. I'm sure you are, you know, you and everybody else.
Right.
Because that was the buzz in 2017. It's like, oh, we're gonna get institutional adoption. It's like, okay, sure. And then it hit me that they actually, the clawback mechanisms and all this functionality that was being built into it. I mean, I was thinking about it like, oh, well, that's nice. I'll probably never use it, but that's cute, you know. It's like, and then it dawned on me like, that's not made for me. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
made for like
made for
banks.
them. Yeah, the back end. It's like the mainframes.
Yes.
That's basically what it would be. Like
And
you take cash out, that's what they're doing.
yeah. And so it's like there's a lot. They bit off a lot, a whole lot. This thing is multifaceted on like 5 different fronts to make it all work together. But I mean, when I look at it, like compared, you know, to the rest of the market, I mean, let's go. Let's see. We got Binance Coin. No, the only reason BNB got such a bid that it did was simply because Ethereum got clogged, and they have Binance Smart Chain for yields. I mean, that's literally it. Cardano, proof of stake, the issues there with that. And then on top of that, like I know people at the Cardano Foundation. I know people who work for Binance. And it's just like it's the only reason they were a good play when it was 3 cents. And I remember I had conversations about this with people like buying it at 3 cents. A friend of mine did, I didn't. But the only reason then it was a good play was because you knew the people involved, some of the people, and that they did real work. That doesn't mean like it's an amazing technology that's actually going to stick for the future, but they were real, you know, and they did do stuff, and they were you know, kind of like Ethereum. They were doing real things. Same thing with Polkadot. Met them years ago, right after a week after their ICO, and I wanted to get on it, and it was funny. It was like they already raised enough, you know. They didn't. Yeah, and that was but I remember looking at Polkadot then, like, oh, real team doing some real core tech. They had this whiteboard. You know, they were like trying to figure stuff out. I was like, oh, this is probably gonna go somewhere. And you know, it's in the top 10 now. And you know, but long term, do I think it has the staying power that like Chia should have long term? Not really. You know, Solana, we've already seen the issues with that. They kind of pulled an Ethereum, bit off more than they could chew. And we already know some of the issues with that, and a lot of it, Bram calls out it's mostly proof of stake. That proof of work was an improvement over proof of stake. As time goes on, I don't think that's wrong.
Okay.
And I Nakamoto, like there's other people I know who absolutely hate crypto because they work in banks. They work in banking, but they're not stupid. They avoid crypto for a reason, and it's because they're very shrewd and they thoroughly looked at the space. And it was interesting, they came to the same conclusion that Bram came to. The only innovation that Bitcoin had was Nakamoto consensus. It built on all these other things that had already happened, but that made it work. When you do anything else other than Nakamoto consensus, it's kind of like, it's definitely unproven. And then proof of stake, though, that's been around, that was heavily talked about and experimented with in the 90s. It just wasn't called proof of stake,
Right.
but it was.
Right.
It was. And you can find there's papers out there, academic papers talking about it and stuff like that. And then you could also just compare it to the modern banking system.
Right.
I have $100,000, I want an interest, here we go. So that's not really a big innovation. Nakamoto consensus being a decentralized ledger that you don't have to trust the opposite party on, that's a big innovation. And Gary Gensler says that too. And then these are some heavyweights that in the US government, like, this is what they're going to be looking at when it comes to regulation. And that's also too, like, kind of a threat. And even Saylor calls that out on Ethereum. If it does get bigger, like, just kind of the hammer would eventually fall. Same thing with Ripple, for sure. We know the issues with that, and these are on the top 10. Right. Polkadot's proof of stake. So
let me ask you this. I want to wrap this up. And my last question to you is, do you think there's a possibility from now, maybe the next 5 years or even less, as Chia is trying to develop this, that someone may step in and overtake them?
Oh, absolutely. 5-10 years from, well, that's what you look for, right? You look for the projects.
You can only stand strong for so long, right?
Yeah, and you look for the I think Chia is going to do very well holding its on and still be there, right? But do I think that there's going to be something else out there that comes to try to eat its lunch
all the time?
Right. Exactly. And I hope so, because that's another good opportunity for me.
We'll jump on that ship when that time comes.
Well, it's like, I'll still be
unless they have so much money that they can acquire them.
Well, Chia at some point probably will. I wouldn't be surprised, and that's
they could now if they use the 21.
Yeah, but then that would kill their chances of real, actually like that pre-farm is absolutely I remember when the white paper came out, and it was like the sticker shock of like the size of it. But then when I thought about it after a few weeks, it's absolutely genius. Yeah, and what they can utilize it for and using it as an asset.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that.
If it's done properly. Now, as soon as some sort of shenanigan starts and like it's totally misused, and that might even not be the team now, but in the future after IPO with like the board or something. If it starts getting mismanaged, they could just shoot themselves in the foot at some point.
Of course.
That is a risk going forward.
Yes.
And that and it's just how much that's managed. So you got to keep an eye on it. I kind of reevaluate things about every 2 weeks. To see just to see exactly, was I missing something? And
you really do. That seems like you do a lot of due diligence and going back to some of the original conversations they have, and you go over just to hear more details of it, just like rewatching a movie once or twice or 3 times.
Yeah. Like the last AMA I watched, I listened to, it might have been yesterday. And it was all because Hoff, and Keybase is like really excited about Atari, and like Atari is like a brand new developer, and it's like, what is this? And from the sound bites that you got from last time, it is going to be a major innovation. Now, what it's going to lead to, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
it's just a name right now. That's all we know. It's a name.
Yeah. The inner nerd in me is like super excited.
Right.
Like I always my favorite emoji is like the little like nerd with the glasses. It's like, all right, let's see. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. As far as like being a bid for the token right now, or even asteroids, is the market going to pick up on it? Like, I don't know, but I do know that 6 months from now, compared to where they are right now, we'll probably have a token standard. Probably I wouldn't be surprised if it's by the end of this month.
Now, token standard as in for
Chia,
or just in general?
Like ERC20. ERC20 for Ethereum, Chia doesn't have that yet.
Right. Right.
That's why like the stalemate of even the developers I know, like there's stuff that they are already like primed to build. They've been waiting
What
for
are
like a month.
your thoughts? I know I asked that. I was going to ask you the last question, but this just came up in my mind. What are your thoughts on the forks of Chias? Are they
They're
even
cop
worth it to you? Nothing.
no, they're copy paste.
Right.
Yeah, they're copy paste and
Oh, okay. Enough said. That doesn't
yeah.
even. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there will be now. Do I think that there will be like more forks later? That some are going to be more than copy paste? Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure when the price goes back up, there's plenty of forks.
I think there's going to be a lot coming down the pipeline in the future.
Mm.
Just with Chia alone, there's going to be a lot, and some of it's going to be forks, some of
That's
it's going
good
to
to
be
hear.
projects that
I
are
think
built on top of it.
a
Yeah.
lot of the viewers that tune in for Chia News would like to hear things like that because
Well,
we don't hear
the
a lot of it.
what was the hackathon, right? The hackathon had like 50 projects that finished.
It did, but I think that left a bad taste in regards to the
Well, I
payout
mean,
of it.
like
I mean,
that was.
we can
Did you?
say that it was the wording in it, but
Yeah,
Chia
I
had
didn't
to
pay
step in.
attention. I
Chia
didn't.
had
Yeah,
to.
they and that says a lot about Chia, right? But like
It
that's
says a lot about Chia, but at the same time, it was their name at stake.
well, and it's
So
typical crypto shenanigans, man. It's like you go back and watch one of those like question answer videos about the hackathon. It's
mm,
like Eastern European dude with his Chinese girlfriend.
mm,
It's like, oh, I never saw this coming. Like,
yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of
So it's yeah, that's the
crypto 101.
unfortunately,
I'd almost be just, I mean, it's like this is as bad as it is, and I'm happy that the winners actually got paid what they were
right,
supposed to.
right.
But it's like that's half the fun of crypto is just like the insanity that's going on, and as it gets more developed, that's going to get cleaned up. It
Mhm.
will, it
Oh yeah,
will,
of course
but
it has to. Yeah.
it has to, yeah, but. It's kind of like as bad as it is, just enjoy it because it's a moment in time where like 10 years from now, it's probably not even going to be
Because
a thing.
the way I see it is like, imagine if the Olympics didn't give out medals. Why would I go? Why
No,
would
yeah.
anyone join?
Yeah,
Why would
yeah,
anyone compete?
yeah. And that hackathon was so sketchy from the beginning because like the terms were like they owned whatever,
Of course,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That's not
like
good.
like so bad. And but the fact that you had so many projects show up in the interest, I mean, it was like 200 something registrations and 50 actually like kind of finalized. Like,
Oh yeah, because I think the prizes
yeah,
drew a lot of people in.
yeah, but
I mean,
that's
it
that's
had to.
also what is it? Another soundbite. One of those AMAs, one of those new hires in Chia, one of the Pauls, I think.
Right.
Was it talked about this was going to be the first in several iterations of hackathons. Like they're gonna keep having
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and that's good.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
so I'm excited about that. But that's also the other side of Chia where like the community development, it's open source, anything can happen.
Right.
And that's going to be more exciting than even institutional adoption because it's going to be like
It
what
adds on
really
to it. It does
yeah,
that definitely adds on to it. Right.
what makes Chia List so special? We're going to find out,
Right. Right.
and if certain talented people are putting it together and they're
I mean
making
that
things
that made Minecraft what it is today. The fact that you can build on top of it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
a
yeah.
closed source game like Super Mario. You can't do anything.
Well,
Although they have came out with a game where you can build your own Mario level, so there's an adoption to that.
it was like
Just
Mad
saying, like
Max, yeah, Mad
yeah,
Max and Blade Bit, all these innovations on top of
right,
plotting, like
right.
those were. I mean, it kind of hurts like some farmers because if you already had plots that had like X amount of work put in, that was a lot, right?
What,
You
like
know,
14, 15
yeah,
hours. Yeah,
yeah, but in general, the ecosystem continues to grow, continues to get bigger because of innovations like that, and we're gonna
yeah,
see the same stuff happening in the on the software side, like
yeah.
on the blockchain side. So it's you're gonna see it, and
Oh,
it's
I
gonna
didn't
be
ask you
cool.
earlier. What was your plotting time like? Not your pre-testnet days. What's your fastest
I
plot
do
time?
I don't do any of that. Yeah, because
Oh, you
I
don't.
just never. Yeah, I mean,
Not a speed freak.
yeah. Well, I never. Oh, I just use the normal GUI
Oh,
and
okay.
just let it go. Like I didn't. I got in.
Blade and Mad
I'm
Max.
ashamed to admit, but I just wasn't comfortable enough with command lines in the early days
Um,
to actually do it
I
because
don't blame you. Yeah,
well,
I
I
don't
was
blame you.
very
Yeah.
like, I need a plot. I need to get as many as I can, and I can't afford to screw it up. So I'm
Right,
gonna
right,
stick with
right.
what I know,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna
No,
get
I
as
hear you.
many as I can, and that was it.
I did the
And
same. I did the same. Yeah. I was
I mean,
skeptical of these Mad Max and all these other things in the beginning.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to play with it, but I just like didn't really have the time and didn't really see. I didn't have a lot of the incentive anymore because I'd
Right.
already kind of. I mean, dude, like plotting used to be actually harder, and they're gonna make it. You were saying this before, is like they're gonna continue to improve it and make it easier,
Hmm.
and to where it's just gonna go. And yeah, it's like, okay, so one click farming like next
Yeah.
year, if they can pull
Yeah.
that off,
I'm sure
that's
they
big.
will. I'm
I think
sure
they
they
will
will.
too. But they were talking about on mainnet launch day, like eventually if they can, like on every hard drive, it's already installed. So like 5 years from now, your base computer has a 2 terabyte hard drive SSD, right? Well, maybe like whatever's you're not going to use with the OS, like, and
It can calculate
it
and
will
allocate.
automatically
Right.
have plots
Right.
and be backing up the network. And as soon as you need more memory, it deletes some plots and
Exactly.
opens it up for you. That's where they're go. I mean, from a security standpoint, I'm just kind of like, that could work.
It can. It can, but very sophisticated. It definitely can.
Yeah. And if that's where they're going, I mean, like, that's what better security mechanism are they going to have? I mean, it's already one of the most secure blockchains on the planet right now.
Right.
And they're just doubling down on it to try to make it invincible. And it's just kind of like, we're going to see.
I think we're gonna cut it out right here. I appreciate it, man. I thank you so much for being here. It's been very insightful for everything that you've spoken about, just in the crypto space in general, and then of course with Chia. I want to be able to have
Thanks for
people,
having me.
if they reach out to you, what would be the best place? Would it be on Keybase?
Keybase, yeah.
Keybase. All right, I'll have that
Keybase
link, and people just to chime in and get some of the ideas, because you seem very knowledgeable in the crypto space and just insightful, and probably I'm sure a lot of people will have some questions for you. All right, I want to thank you guys for being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon.